topics. Just you keep it open. Just I will take up topics and I'll tell whatever topics we have discussed. I will take it up and I'll tell you. I'll just revise it. Okay. So starting with the
Sir,
email.
in the
Yeah.
slides, all the slides that were told to be skipped, we can skip, no, sir. Like whatever was taught in class, only that we can learn for
Only that.
NSEM.
Yes. Only that.
Yes, sir.
Whatever I taught, only that much. Don't worry about the other slides.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
So email security, why we have to secure emails is the first question, and the obvious answer is email. You will share many important details, many critical details. We can say those data what you share through email has to be secured, and to some extent, some of the mails what you send is confidential, so you have to keep it secret. You have to provide confidentiality for it, and you should provide authentication for it, so that you should have a confirmation from whom you are getting, and when you are sending it to someone, you have to send it to the proper receiver. So authentication is important there. And finally, integrity, you all know, the data what I send, the same should reach the destination, so that there will be no tampering of data in the mails. So these are the three major network aspects which has to be served to email what you send. Okay, so what is email architecture? We will have the different components, like or elements of email architecture, like post office, message transfer agent, that is MTA. MTA is basically the server. Okay, so SMTP server we tell, right? Simple Mail Transfer Protocol server. That is the mail server. Say for example, will have our mails, mail log accounts in either Outlook or Gmail. So an Outlook server is a MTA, Gmail server is an MTA, for which we'll send our mail, and from there it goes to the recipient server. Okay, that is MTA. Then MUA is mail user agent. I mean the system from which we generates the message. That is MUA and gateway. Okay, so these are these components or elements of email architecture. So as we know, in the previous semester also we have studied in computer networks, SMTP is the major protocol which takes your mail from your system to your mail server, and from there to recipient's mail server. Okay, the two links basically, from your system to your mail server, and from your mail server to recipient mail server, two links taking up the mail to that recipient mail server is the job of SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol. But from there it is the work of either POP3, IMAP and HTTP to pull that uh, uh, mail from the recipient mail server to its MUA. Is that clear? Mail user agent. So that's about the mail architecture. So what are the security things that you need to uh, consider here? There will be threats for the email itself, and there will be threats for the email enabled organization. Say for example, I have my personal ID in Gmail. So whatever the mails I send, uh, I may end up in having threat to my mails itself. And the other thing is, I have a official mail ID from Amrita, hn underscore Vishwas at blr.amrita.edu. It's an official mail ID. And if something is like if that email ID is hacked, and the data which is going through that mail is leaked, so basically there will be a threat to organization also. You can make a note of this, students. I think I didn't tell this to you during the regular classes. So threat to the email and threat to the organization. Okay, when you say email security, there are the two major broad categories of threats: are threat to the email itself and threat to the organization. As I said, you threat to the email means for my data which I am sending, and threat to the organization means you might be sending some critical information related to the organization, and that is a threat to the whole organization itself if that is disclosed. Okay, so under that, loss of confidentiality, loss of integrity, lack of non-repudiation, all these comes into picture. Okay, so what are the primary requirements that we see here is, as I said you, confidentiality, authentication, and integrity. So then the next picture, you have all these problems with mails. So how do you protect your mails? Can anyone tell me what are the protocols that we use to protect the mails?
PGP and SMIMEs.
PGP and SMIME. So yes, these are the two major security protocols to secure your mails. Nowadays, SMIME is widely used because there are a lot of difference from PGP to SMIME. We know that already, but anyway, we'll recall those things. So let us start with PGP. So what are the features of PGP? It encrypts your email. It generates message digests. We know that. It generates digital signatures. It manages the keys, and then it sends the mail to the destination. It provides authentication also. These are some of the features of PGP. And what are the algorithms that we use for symmetric encryption? We use DES, 3DES, AES, and for public and private key encryption, generally we use RSA algorithm. For hashing, we will use MD5 or SHA. So these are the protocols that we use under PGP to provide more features to it. And the functionalities of PGP are broadly categorized into two different things. One is cryptographic functions, and other one is message processing functions. What are cryptographic functions, students, of PGP?
Authentication and confidentiality.
Yes. Cryptographic functions of PGP are authentication and confidentiality. What are the message processing functions of PGP?
Compression, segmentation, and email compatibility.
Compression, segmentation, and email compatibility. Yes, you're right. So let us take up one by one. How authentication is provided to emails by PGP? That's the first question. What do you have first? You have a message. Okay. You just recall. Okay. Just try to imagine what I'm telling. You have a message. That message will be fed into a hash function. Is that clear? It's an algorithm. Your input is given to that hash function. You will get a hash code of it. Okay. You will feed the whole mail message into your hash function. You will get a hash code. Now you have your message and the hash code of it. Both you have. What you will do, you will take up the hash code and you will encrypt it using the sender's private key. Is that clear? Who will have the sender private key? Only sender will have, because it is a private key. Only sender will have the private key. But the other key pair, the public key of the sender, anybody can get to know it. Is that clear? So what you are guaranteeing here, when you are encrypting something with your private key, that means it is you are the one who is sending the mail. Is that clear? Sending that message. It's a confirmation. It's authentication which is proved there. Okay. Now you have the hash function. You are encrypting that hash function using the sender's private key, and that is basically called as digital signature. Am I clear, students? Digital signature means you have a message, you feed into a hash function, you will get the hash code of it, and that hash code will be encrypted using the sender's private key, and that part is called digital signature. You have the digital signature. Now you are going to append the digital signature with the actual message and send it to the destination. What happens? Destination system will receive your actual message and digital signature. So actual message what you have sent will be fed into a hash function, hashing algorithm. Similarly, how sender did it, the same hashing function will be used in the receiver side also. So when the hash function, for that hash function, when this message is given, a new hash code will be generated for that message what you have sent. And you also have digital signature. I mean, the receiver has received the digital signature that will be decrypted using the sender's public key. As I said you, public key is known to everyone. So sender's public key will be used to decrypt it. So another hash function is received. So a hash function is generated in the receiver side, and also a hash function is received by decrypting the digital signature which is generated in the sender side. Now you have two hash functions. You compare it. If both are same, that means there is no change in the data. Basically you are proving integrity there. That means if there is any change, obviously hash code will differ. Is that clear? If there is no change, that means no modifications is done to the data. You are proving integrity there, and also you are proving authentication. How you are proving authentication? By sending the digital signature. Is that clear? So here, by doing this process, you are proving two things. One is authentication and other one is integrity. Am I clear, students? Any questions regarding this?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, coming towards confidentiality. Can anyone tell me, like, or can anyone explain me, like, how we did for authentication? What do you do for confidentiality? No one?
So we take the message and we encrypt it using a session key.
Yes.
Then we
Yes,
encrypt
slow
the
down. Slow down. You can continue. I'll tell you to continue. Okay. Have a message. You are giving that message, or you are encrypting to an encryption function basically. But with what key? When you are feeding a message to an encryption function, you have to give a key, okay, to encrypt it. So that message what you have, you are feeding that into an encryption function, and you are giving a session key to it. What is session key? Session key is a symmetric key. That means whatever the key you use to encrypt, you have to use the same key to decrypt. That session key is generated by self, I mean the user itself, or you might have a third party to generate that session key and give it to you. Now in PGP case, you are not going to use a third party. The session key is generated by the sender itself, and it is used only for that particular session. Okay, yeah, you can continue now. You have a message, you are encrypting it using the session key. Please continue.
Now that session key is encrypted using the receiver's public key.
Okay.
And
Why that session key is encrypted using the receiver's public key?
so like otherwise, if the session key is available to the others, they can read the message.
Yes, basically, see, session key is generated at the sender side. Somehow you have to send it to the receiver so that the encrypted message has to be decrypted. Okay, so how do you send a session key? If you send it as it is in the medium, somebody can look into the session key and they can use the session key to decrypt your message. Okay, so you have to encrypt the session key also. With what? With what key you have to encrypt the session? Again, are you going to generate a new session key? And if you generate a new session key, how you are sending that new session key securely to the destination? So it is a continued process if you are using only session keys. So what will be done? We have a message. That message is encrypted using the session key, and that session key will be encrypted using the receiver's public key, because you will know for whom you are sending, and you can easily get to know that user's public key. You cannot get to know the private key of that user. Only that user will have the private key. So when you encrypt something using the receiver's public key, only receiver can decrypt it. Even if somebody gets that message in between, they cannot decrypt it because they will not have the private key of the receiver. Okay, so you are encrypting the session key using the receiver's public key. Yeah, continue please.
So now the like previously encrypted message and the encrypted session key are concatenated and sent to the receiver.
Yes, you are right. So previously encrypted message using the session key and encrypted session key using the recipient's public key will be concatenated and it is sent to the destination. Okay. Now in destination, what happens?
So in destination, the receiver can use his private key and decrypt the session key. Use the session key and decrypt the message.
You're right. So in receiver, what happens? It is as simple as that. Receiver have the private key of its own to decrypt the session key, which is encrypted using the receiver's public key. Okay, so it decrypts and finds the session key there, and that session key will be used to decrypt the message, and you have the message now with you. Okay, so this provides confidentiality. The previous method we proved authentication and integrity. Here we provide, we can prove confidentiality. Now if we put together both confidentiality and authentication and integrity, how it works. You have a message, give it to the hash function, get the hash code. Hash code is encrypted using the sender's private key. Now you have the digital signature with you, and you also have the message with you. Concatenate it. Both digital signature and message you concatenate, and then you have a session key. So you generate a session key, encrypt the whole concatenated message, that is message plus digital signature with session key, and then encrypt the session key using the receiver's public key. Okay, so then send it to the destination. In the receiver, first when the receiver receives this whole thing, receiver will first decrypt the session key using its own private key. Once the session key is decrypted, it decrypts concatenated message and digital signature, and then it decrypts the digital signature using the sender's public key, and it will get the hash code there. Now that message is again fed into the hashing function. It generates a new hash code. Both the hash codes are compared. If there is no change in the data, integrity is proved, and since it is a digital signature, authentication is proved, and since the whole data is encrypted using the session key, and session key is encrypted using the receiver's sender's public key, sorry, receiver's public key, obviously only receiver private key can be used to decrypt it, so confidentiality is also proved there. So these are the cryptographic functions of PGP. Okay, now we will go to the message processing functions. The first one is compression. So basically zip protocol is used to compress the messages or the mails which are sent through PGP. We are not going in depth of what protocols they are using and all those things. And then for conversion, basically a PGP uses radix 64. There is a table of radix 64 which starts from 0 to number 63, which is basically 64 different numbers, 0 to 63. 0 to 25 is all capital letters, that is A to Z. 26 to 51 is all small letters, A to Z. So then from 52 it is 0, 1, 2, 3 till 9, that is till 61, and then 62 will give you plus, and 63 will give you backslash or equal padding bit. Okay, so we have, I think, solved a couple of problems with this. If I give you an ordinary input in binary, how to convert it into its radix 64 coding, I have showed you that. So that is about the conversion of PGP mails to its radix 64 compatibility. Finally, segmentation and reassembly. Yes, PGP will support segmentation and reassembly. If the mails are huge, it has to segment it into smaller chunks of data. And finally, when it segments it, so obviously it has to reassemble it in the receiver side. That provision is provided by PGP. Okay, these are the work related to PGP, and we have seen the PGP message, the packet structure. So there are three major components in PGP packet structure: session key component, signature component, and message component. The diagram is important, students. And then how does the PGP certificate looks? That also we have seen. There are a lot of fields in the PGP certificate, like PGP version number, certificate holders public key will be there in the certificate. Obviously any certificate should have its public key and its validity period, so those things will be there in the public PGP certificate field. So that's about PGP, and we will move into SMIME now. So basically the first one is MIME, multi-purpose internet mail extension. To secure it, we go for SMIME, that is secure multi-purpose internet mail extension. That means you can go ahead with the attachments here, like any kind of attachments, audio, video, a document file or an image file, anything. Those attached files also will be secured using SMIME. And the other process, the providing confidentiality, authentication, and integrity, all are very similar to the PGP what we discussed now. So you have a message, feed it to hashing function, get the hash code, encrypt it using the sender's private key, So authentication is proved, and once you compare both the this thing there, hash code there, you will get the integrity also proved. Like that, the process of sending the mail is same, and in the receiver side also it is same. So the major difference, as I said you, between SMIME and PGP is SMIME provides. I think I have given you some more differences. Just go through that. So that's about SMIME. That actually completes this chapter. That is email security. So do you have any questions regarding this chapter, students? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you have any questions? Any doubts regarding this chapter?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. And after this, there is one chapter left out to discuss. Let us keep it for tomorrow. I don't want to continue it today. So we'll stop here for the day. If you have any questions, you can ask. I couldn't compute your internal marks yesterday. I will do it today. Okay. So any other things like to discuss today?
Sir, attacks and all comes in which chapter, sir? Is it there for NSEM portion or was it for general knowledge?
It is for general knowledge. I have asked you. I have taught that to you. It is not there in your syllabus basically. There are some few attacks which I discussed while I am discussing, like a few attacks like eavesdropping, reply attacks. Those attacks I discussed during other portions. So those things which I discussed are there. Separately, I discussed about attacks, right? That is not there in your syllabus. But as a security student, I mean, when you're discussing, when you're studying information security, I feel you should know about these kind of attacks. So that's why I have discussed it.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. And even those advanced antivirus techniques, all those things.
They are not there.
Okay.
They are not.
Okay.
Okay, then, students, we will stop here for the day. Tomorrow, first hour, we will meet again.